Hello and welcome back on my channel. Thank you for joining me again for yet another reading vlog. Cheers to a new week. I have a feeling this week is gonna be good. It's gonna be a good reading week because I have a couple of days off and I'm in such a huge reading mood. I'm hoping to be on track after this week. What are we reading this week? First off, we're going to continue The Dragon Reborn. I'm reading this with Lucienne. Can't speak much about this because it's the third book in the Wheel of Time series. The other book that I have already started, and I'm like 10 pages in, is The Shadows Between Us. This is what I'm reading next. I'm reading this, honestly, basically because I have sold it already. So all I know about this is that we are following this girl who wants to go to court, marry the king, kill the king, and become queen. I'm hoping for an ambitious character, a cunning character, somebody who manipulates people around her, but not too on the nose, I'm evil. Then I'm also starting today the Gilded ones. I don't know shit about it. I just know that it's one of the most beautiful covers that I've had in a while. The other books that I have sold is The Merciful Crow, which I know nothing about aside from having seen it a lot on feeds, and then The Beautiful, which is a vampire story in New Orleans. And I'm going to read Nice Try Jane Sinner, which I know very little about because this is going to be a book box. I'm creating another book box for a person from the Goodreads group that I'm part of. Then I'm going to read How the Penguins Saved Veronica. Oh yeah, Spin the Dawn is one of the books that I sold as well. Last but not least, I think the last two that are on schedule for this week are The Silent Patient, which again I only know that it is a thriller, and I do need a thriller in between now because I haven't had a good thriller in a while, and this has come with really good ratings. So that is, I believe, the whole plan for this week. Being off work, I don't think 9 books is gonna happen, but I'm really gonna try really hard to do 7 books. I'm going to be gone to 2 TV show tapings this week, but other than that I have no plans at all aside from learning Korean and studying. So I'm done with chapter 1 and I can finally tell you a little bit more about what this book is about. We are in the world of Otera and we are following Deka, who is, I'm assuming, the girl on the cover. She is anxious about a ritual that will determine if she can stay in her village or if she will be banned. It's a blood ritual which will see if she's pure or if she's a demon. I'm assuming that she's gonna be a demon. What has stood out to me in the first chapter and why I'm making a video right after like one chapter, it kind of unnerved me that I was expecting to go into this book and be in a mainly blackish culture. I don't know why, but I was expecting that. I was expecting for this not to be a book about race. I do like to read books that touch on topics like racism. I didn't feel like I was reading enough black stories that were positive stories, not only fixating on the issues with racism. I wanted to diversify my black reading into more books that treat being black as the normal, where being black is not a struggle, where black is just normal because that's what it should be. Children of Blood and Bone is a really good example, or I think Kingdom of Souls. In this book, I was hoping to get into a similar situation, but within the first chapter, I realized that Deka is living in a white village with people with blonde hair, and she has brown skin, and she is an outsider because of this. And there's things being said like Deka can't help that her skin is as dirty as her mother's was. I'm excited to see where this goes. I just didn't expect the topic of racism to become a part. Reading further, I'm assuming that not only racism will become a topic, but also girl power and the strength of women, because in this culture women are, it's not just about being pure and not being a demon, it's about they can't be seen without a man, they have to cover everything up, etc. Everything is pointing towards a very extreme form of women are below men and are there to serve men. I would have enjoyed a culture that is inspired by girls wanting to cover up a little. One of the crassest things that is written in here so far, it said, and upon the 4th day he created woman. This is like a priest preaching or something. A helpmeet to lift man to his sacred potential, his divine glory. Woman is the infinite Father's greatest gift to mankind. Everything in here points towards women being oppressed and the weak gender. So additionally to that, we also have a sort of demonish creature called death shrieks that are attacking villages. Most young men go train in the army, and some even get into like an elite army, and some of the elite army are here to protect the village during this like purifying ritual. Our main character has a dark secret, just like her mother, which will most likely become very important very soon. So batching day is done. Today's portion, I don't know what happened, but this is like 3 portion sizes. This is not normal. I'm making this like, I'm following this meal plan because the portion sizes usually are great for me for one day. This is just a humongous plate of food. We're having jackfruit, it's like Caribbean style with coconut rice, and a cucumber, chickpea, avocado salad. So I just finished the Shadows Between Us, and I am sadly only giving it 2 out of 5 stars. I felt like the idea was great. I think that some of the setup was great, but it could have used a little bit more polish. It could have used a little bit more character development. It felt like there was no character development. It felt at times a little bit lazy, the way that things were solved, just the way it played out. It was super predictable, very tropey, and then the romance part didn't touch me. I couldn't feel the connection at all. I know that I'm not a romance reader, so I'm probably not the best audience for this, but I'm a big person for the type of character that this promised, like an ambitious, cunning, manipulative. If you know a good book that has a manipulating, ambitious, cunning, conniving main character, please let me know. It felt real in a few cases that this is her character, and then in other times it just felt a little bit forced and over the top. I would have preferred for them not to be romancy and just have the rest of the plot going on. The writing style was nice. If you are into this type of character and you want a quick read, a quick romance read, this might be for you. It was not for me, sadly. I'm going to start the Merciful Crow next. And I'm going to start this again because I have already sold this book. I know nothing about this, so I'm super excited. And I'm starting the Henna Wars before I dive into the Merciful Crow. A lot of plans before I go to bed. Let's get to it. So I finished the first 7 chapters of the Henna Wars, and I am really enjoying it. It is very quick, easy. It is in a way a lighthearted read, although it is touching on some topics that are not that lighthearted. We are following our main character, who is from Bangladesh. At least she lived for a while in Bangladesh, and she has come out to her parents is gay. She is now living in Ireland, and they have like their own community in a way. At least they have attended a wedding, like a traditional wedding. She was talking about the food, about korma, about biryani. At this wedding, she met a girl that she knew when she was little in Bangladesh, and she's falling for her hard. It hasn't become a topic much yet, but her parents are not okay with her being a lesbian. So far, nothing really stood out to me, so it seems like this is going to be a nice book for people who are looking for that kind of representation. It's going to be a fabulous book. This book is basically mixing Bengali culture and Irish culture in a way. What stood out to me were things like people not being able to pronounce Kiyose names, or just making jokes. Other than that, this book is making me really hungry. I need to go for some Indian Bengali food. I need some korma. I need some biryani. I am absolutely hungry for that now. So I just finished the Henna Wars, and honestly, I am crying. Oh my gosh, that was so beautiful. That was so much better than expected. I really thought this was like a younger YA, lighthearted, even though it's hitting hard topics, but oh my gosh, has this book impressed me. There's so many things that have impressed me about this book. This book is not only about race, ethnicity, about homophobia, about religion, and how it all ties together. I think the main part that I am getting from this book is also about misconception, assuming things, assuming intentions, not properly listening to people. There's no character that is just pure evil. There's no character that is like the personification of the moral high ground. Every character is somewhere in between, and they're all struggling to find their place. They all think that they're doing the right thing. They all have good intent. It was so well done. It was so well done. I love how in this book we have this message is not preachy. What I love most is how the author is able to portray this message without feeling the need to write out the message. We get the message and the author trusts her writing to not having to spell out the message. As soon as I'm home, I will now dive into the Merciful Crow. So I'm on my way to pick up a friend that I haven't seen in 7 years and then go back to taping the TV show. I started listening to the Merciful Crow today, but I have listened to it 3 times, the first chapter, and I cannot get into it. I don't know why. So as expected, this was a super quick and fun read. The story is about a girl who lives out in the country, like really out in the country, with a little bit of like complicated family situation, and a boy who lives in Tokyo, and he has a busy life. He works, he lives with his father, and these two are starting to swap places in their dreams. Well, at first they think it's in their dreams, but they pretty much start waking up and swapping bodies like 3 times a week. So this is really well done. It's super interesting, and this is one of the mangas where I'm really interested actually to continue reading. I think there were a few cultural things that were hard to understand for somebody who's completely new to like Japanese culture and influences, but everything in here is well explained, and there's nothing really where I felt like you need to understand the culture to understand what's going on. I think I had this with I Want to Eat Your Pancreas, where there were a few conversations that I felt like you couldn't really explain because it wasn't just a word, or it wasn't just a product or something, or a pop culture reference that you can explain in a sentence. It was behavioral that was just really weird for somebody who has had no experience with the Japanese culture. And in here, I did not really feel this influence. It felt very much relatable, even if you have no background knowledge in what is normal in Japanese culture and what is not. I do enjoy when a manga brings me closer to the Japanese culture and I start understanding about where they're coming from. But as a beginner, for me, it's quite important to not go in too strong and too far, because I will have trouble understanding it. The storyline is very approachable, it's very easy to get into. I have a feeling that potentially this could touch some topics later on, topics of like gender, topics around what is expected of a boy, what is expected of a girl. So yeah, this is definitely a manga that I would recommend. So it has been a really long day. The show taping was amazing. This show is so much fun. It is very much like The Masked Singer, but instead of the celebrities being in like these crazy animal-like masks, it is that they are swapping out with legendary singers. We have German celebrities being J-Lo, Elton John, Adele, Prince, and Tom Jones. I love being part of a TV show taping, and I love that they found a way to do this in these times. I have my absolute favorite, and her voice is so amazing. It's blowing me away. On my way, I did read on an audiobook a little bit of The Merciful Crow, but I am having trouble getting into it, and this might be solely to the fact that I'm just listening to it on audiobook, and I need like potentially the first few chapters to physically read it before I am in this world enough to then switch over to audiobook. Right now I'm zoning off in a way that I have no idea what happened. I have repeated the first chapter like 4 times now, and I said, okay, I'm going to sit down tomorrow at home with the book, and read it, like physically read it. So I swapped it out against the audiobook of Spin the Dawn, which is then next on my list. And this one I was able to read for 3 chapters and actually understand what was happening. So I guess I'm reading this first. Let's take off my makeup and go to bed and just get into Spin the Dawn tomorrow. Good evening. I just finished the Gilded ones, and I love that I was able to read this as part of a buddy read. I just listened to some audios where my buddy read was laughing and almost crying out of frustration. This book has great atmosphere, it has a great setting, it has a great idea of characters, and it has a great idea for a plot. But there are some logical problems in here where I feel like some of the conclusion just doesn't make sense the way that it should. This is kind of destroying a part of this book for me. The other thing that I don't like as much is the writing style. The writing style has some really, really good parts, but it also has some parts where I struggled a lot because I felt like it was written for stupid 10-year-olds, where everything had to be spelled out. It just didn't feel fluent. The middle section was done so well. It was written so well. All the problems that I had with the first half weren't there. Only giving it 3 out of 5 stars because these 2 things. I did enjoy it a lot though. I did have a lot of fun.
Much later.
I finished Spin the Dawn. I really did enjoy this. The first half was the perfect Project Runway meets fantasy, a little bit of a chosen one trope, and the second one is more like of an adventure quest. The magic system is interesting, but it's not the most unique. I do really enjoy magic systems that have rules, that have clear regulations. Even though the magic system here has some limitations, it doesn't have clear rules. But overall, I'm giving this 4 out of 5 stars. I have really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the characters overall. We do have some romance in here, which is costing this the 5th star. I find romance creepy between characters where one is old person. This person has lived an inhuman long life. I really hate when that happens. I am a little bit afraid that we might have that here as well. So right now I will read The Dragon Reborn. I'm 3 chapters behind, so I'm going to read up a little bit to be at today's portion. And then I will start into the Merciful Crow or the Beautiful. And I am again here for the show. It was a wonderful, wonderful show again. I am so impressed. I did not think that this show was going to be that good. Potentially because there's 2 people who I just enjoy listening to. The only downside today is my hair. But I had on this super cute dress and I was so happy being able to wear this dress. You cannot even imagine how stoked I am being able to wear this. So I'm back home. I have another 100 pages to read in The Merciful Crow. I think we haven't talked about what this book is actually about. And I have been putting off trying to describe this book because I feel like it's quite hard to explain what's happening in here without going into spoilers. What I would tell somebody who's interested in this book, it has a really cool, unique world. We're following this girl who is a crow. A crow is one of 12 castes in this world, and it is like the lowest of the lowest classes. 12 castes are all named after some type of bird, and they all have a birthright. I haven't really understood yet what that means in forms of how they're using their birthright. Out of these 12 castes, Crow is the lowest and they have no birthright at all. But they're able to use magic by utilizing the tea of a dead person, and then it turns into the magic of that caste. So with a tooth from a member of the Phoenix caste, a crow can do some magic and start a fire. With a tooth from a sparrow, they can hide themselves, so they can disappear. People do need the crows because for some reason there is this plague going on, and it's called the Sinner's Plague, and crows seem to be immune to this plague. So when somebody in a village comes down with a plague and dies from it, if this person isn't removed, like the dead person isn't removed within a couple of days, experience tells them that this village will most likely be dead in a couple of days because everybody is going to contract that disease. Now crows are immune, and they then are being called to the village through a beacon, and they transport them away and burn the dead people who died from the plague. Let's read the last 100 pages and then let's see if I can still read another page or two in another book. I am so impressed how well my makeup did all night. This has been on for what, like 10 hours now? I just love at the end of the night when my makeup still looks like this. So I finished The Merciful Crow, and one thing that I just noticed is that not once I have looked at this wonderful map and tried to figure out where they are, which is something that I usually do all the time. I love following like the main characters or all the characters if they go different routes along the map and see where they're at. And I not once did it this time, and I have no idea why. For pretty much all the reasons that I already mentioned. I love the world, I love the magic system. I think that it could be a little bit more polished still, that this could use a little bit more work. Sometimes I feel like I don't really understand the magic system and how did that happen now? How did that work now? So a little bit more polish would have been great. The plot is very unexciting, tropey. We have seen it a million times. The characters were very typical, nothing exciting. Some of the relationships are insanely tropey. I love the cast setup. I love how it is tackling the topic of a whole race being bullied and suppressed and be put into a situation where they're pretty much being told that they're worth less, but then the society still needs them to carry out some of the worst tasks and nobody else can do them. I find that quite interesting how that mirrors our society. All right, so we have, I guess, 10 to 12 hours reading time. I am on track with the Dragon Reborn for the day, which is woohoo. I do want to spend some time in the pool, because then I will want to read The Beautiful today. Super excited about some of the next books in line. Finishing like the first page, it feels like it's not a prologue really, but it feels like a prologue. And I'm already rolling my eyes. Okay, I'm on page 5. And the writing style is already putting me off. I know that some people love this type of writing style and they are seeking for books with that type of writing style. But this is exactly why I used to hate historical fiction. Because it felt like a lot of historical fiction was like the Jane Austen kind of era, with women fainting out of excitement and love. They were waiting for the one guy to swoop them away. And I associate this a lot with this type of writing style as well. So page 47, and I'm actually starting to get into it. Yay! I need to get myself some food. Talk about The Beautiful. So I'm really getting into it. We're following mainly Celine, who has come over from Paris together with some other people from Europe, all young girls. And she is now living in a convent, and some of them are helping in the hospital. Some of them are just doing some work to be sold for benefiting the convent. The convent, the nuns are pretty much giving them a second chance at life. There are some hints for Celine having to flee Paris because she murdered somebody. It's quite early on that she's hinting on that. Aside from that, we do have our first hints of having some demonic creatures in New Orleans. A woman got killed by the dogs quite drastically, and we just had a chapter from the vampire's perspective, and it seems like they're trying to draw attention of their enemy with this murder. This is the true premise that you know going in blind, that you learn on the first 50 pages. On page 150. It's not a bad book. I was expecting more trash vampire, and I'm getting a little bit of a dark mood historical fiction so far, like a murder mystery, which is nice for like atmosphere and stuff. The plot isn't gripping me at all. And then for some reason my iPhone started acting up. Whenever I'm trying to open it, it's heating up and it's not reacting. I had the screen acting up roughly a year ago. And I'm just wondering, is this now again happening the same thing? I've had an iPhone for such a long time, 10 years now, and I've never had an issue before the iPhone 10. I was like, okay, next month I'm gonna get a new phone. And then I was reading up on the iPhone 12 when it's coming out. So potentially we have an announcement then already. And I wanted to wait for that.
Many hours later.
So I am finished with the beautiful... I have started skimming pages and reading really quickly because honestly the plot just is no relevation. The plot is nothing that really gripped me, and I'm just not into this like gothic feel in a story anymore. But I'm still giving it 3 out of 5 stars simply because I feel like objectively, if this is what you're looking for, that was quite an atmospheric, nice read. I have nothing objectively to fault this story with, really. I felt like it was a little bit cliche, it was a little bit predictable. To me, I had a very similar feeling when I'm reading Cassandra Clare. To me, having read a lot of 1840 to 1870s America historical fiction lately, this did not feel close to that era, but it gave me the same gothic, dark feel. All right, let's dive into how the penguins saved Veronica. How the penguins saved Veronica is a Once Upon a Book Club book. Are always 4 gifts with a page number. So we have page 908, page 321, and then page 200. Oh, this one's heavy, 269. We have this wonderful sign. This is a forgive us for the delay this month. In this box always is also a postcard with a quote from the book. It's a very long time since I've had an adventure. We have a letter from the author, cheaply printed on paper, but who cares? And then we have discussion questions for the book. I feel like the material value of these boxes is coming close to what I'm spending on them if you do not factor in shipping. This is the only box that I keep getting that I'm getting for the experience. So let's dive into how the penguin saved Veronica. We're on page 9. So far I don't know much yet. Our main character seems to be an old lady, and she might be a little bit confused because in the first chapter she asked Eileen, who's helping her out, to get rid of mirrors, all the mirrors in the house, because she doesn't want to see herself. She has a caretaker. I think her main role is supposed to be cleaning, but I'm not sure if she's more of a nurse or something, because in the second chapter Veronica completely forgot that she had asked her to put the mirrors down because she's asking for the mirrors and she really needs them. So I'm not sure where this is going, but it sounds like we have some mental health stuff here. Let's see. We are on page 9, and where we are right now, she's picking up trash with a cane, and she's pretty much saying, like with tongs, I believe, like litter picking tongs, and she's saying that it is no easy task wielding cane, tongs, sack, and handbag. I don't think we're gonna have a handbag in here. Like honestly, litter picking tongs, hopefully not. Let's see, it's already coming apart. So let's see, what is it? It is tongs. It's not necessarily litter picking tongs. We can use them for cooking. And that is actually perfect timing. I had the exact same ones in pink, and it broke, like the all the rubbery stuff fell off and it disappeared. I think my son did something with it, like he potentially burned it, or I don't know, threw it in the trash or whatever. So that's perfect timing. And there's a small engraving here, which I love. Life begins at the end of your comfort zone. So that is perfect timing. Thank you. And I'm assuming these are trash bags. Be the change that you wish to see in the world. With some trash bags. Who cannot use trash bags? Not necessarily something that you would hope for in a book box, but honestly, this is so perfect right now because this this is really usable shit. So I have continued reading and I'm on page 108 now. For some reason I cannot put it down. Quite surprised because this would not be a book that I would purchase going off the cover or the little prompt, but I can't put it down. So page 108, we get to open this gift and it feels like a tin box, and in here it says, I discovered the tin of fragrant Darjeeling in its depths. There we go. Oh, it's dented. This is just Darjeeling tea. It's white and gold, so it would be my style, but I would have loved a little bit less branding on it and things like tea sash and stuff. These back here, and I like these tins. They're stackable. They do have branding on them as well, but I prefer the size as well because it being loose tea in here, there's actually a lot fitting in here. I really like this design as well, but they are a little bit bigger and I don't need that big size. Jasmine tea with elderflower and rose petals. I really like this. Look at this. These are my favorite tins. I love them. Dragon Pearl Jasmine tea. Green tea with ginseng, I don't know. This one is Yin Yang. It's a premium coffee flavored black tea. Okay, I do have to go to bed because it's seriously late. Well, I'm going to finish the chapter. Liar! So this is it for this week. I am super pumped about this week. This week was really good. I think I finished 7 books this week and I read quite a bit in The Dragon Reborn and I read over 100 pages in How the Penguin Saved Veronica. So that was a good reading week. Yay! I think I've read as many books as I've read in other months, but fingers crossed I'm gonna do a lot more. I'm so excited for all the books that are still on my TBR shelf and I want to get to them. So into the reading mood right now. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you liked this little glimpse into my life, into my world. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you didn't do so before, and I hope to see you again on my channel real soon. Until then, bye!